Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a little get ready with me, but this time Instagram picked my makeup. I put on my stories like a couple weeks ago options with products that I haven't used in a while. So this is like kind of a mini shop my stash. I really tried to pick products that haven't gotten enough love lately, so this was just my way of kind of forcing myself to use those products. So you guys voted. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I'll leave the handle like on the screen and it's always linked down below. It's just vivtvnguyen on Instagram and on TikTok if you guys are interested. With that being said, hi, if you're new here, my name is Vivian. I'm a robotics engineer with a love for all things beauty and makeup related, and I'd love it if you liked and subscribed if you aren't already. Let's just hop into it. I'm gonna go in with primer. I didn't have this in my polls, but I haven't tried this yet and I want to. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Control Mattifying Primer. I'm using this one specifically because the products, like the base products I'm using, are kind of glowy, and also I do tend to get kind of oily throughout the day. It doesn't feel like a typical mattifying primer, like it doesn't feel silicone-y. And I'm just focusing this mainly in my T-zone. It is pilling a little bit, but I think that might be my sunscreen underneath. I don't know. I put on sunscreen a while ago though, so maybe I'll have to try this more. That is a little bit concerning. It's specifically on this side though, so I feel like it has to be either I didn't rub my sunscreen enough, or I didn't rub in my sunscreen enough on this side, or maybe I just like rubbed too aggressively. It kind of just feels like nothing is there. I'll obviously have to play with this some more. So for base, I had on the poll the Summer Fridays Skin Tint versus the Glossier Skin Tint. The Summer Friday Skin Tint won, so I am going to give this a good shake. And with the skin tint, I am just gonna go in with my fingers. I just find it's the easiest way to apply it, so I do honestly quite like this skin tint. I feel like it does a really good job of just evening everything out, but it still gives like a little bit of coverage, unlike the Glossier skin tint where it evens out, but it doesn't really have any coverage at all. But I think this is slightly better than the Glossier skin tint. For concealer, I had you guys choose between the Huda Beauty Glowish Bright Light Concealer and the Glossier Stretch Concealer. The Glowish Concealer won. I have mine in the shade 4 Light Medium, and I have the Summer Fridays Skin Tint also in the shade 4. This one is a really sheer concealer. The undertone of this is like slightly too orange, but it is sheer enough that I feel like I can kind of get away with it. I'm gonna go in with my sponge. Most of the products that I chose today are pretty lightweight. It's very much like no makeup vibes. And I do like this concealer. I feel like it does just enough where I feel a little bit more covered, but not too much where, I mean, like it's obviously a light concealer, but it's also quite hydrating. So I don't mind putting this on my acne because it doesn't really pick up on the dry patches around my acne. And you can see like it did cover up that darker area pretty well actually. Like I feel like that looks pretty good. For cream bronzer, I gave you guys the choice between the Merit Bronze Balm and the Makeup Revolution Cream Bronzer, and the Merit one won. So I have mine in the shade Sen, and this is a very, very lightweight sheer bronzer. So I'm gonna go in with maybe a little bit more product than I normally would, but this is very sheer, so I don't think you need to really worry about having too much bronzer. I'm going to take this ColourPop F30 brush to blend it out. So that's pretty much it for the bronzer. You can see it is very subtle, but I do look a little bit more sculpted, and I do really like this. I believe Merit sent this to me, but like there's no obligation to talk about it. I just think it's really pretty, and I think it works really well for summer. I just haven't reached for it in a while because I've been so focused on my e.l.f. putty bronzer. So for blush, I had the choice between the Rare Beauty Stay Vulnerable Melting Blush, I believe it's called, and the Milani Cheek Kiss. The Rare Beauty blush won. This is such a pretty blush. I have mine in the shade Nearly Neutral. It's just this really pretty, like, neutrally pink color. So I am going to take this on a brush, actually. I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. primer, or the putty primer brush, and pick this up on the brush. I think this blush is a really good formula if you're just getting into cream products. I feel like it's really easy to work with and it blends out really well, but it's also not too pigmented. Like, you can't really go overboard with it. Even if you pick up a lot on your brush, it still blends out so easily that, you know, like there's just really no good way to go overboard with it. But you guys know I love like a really blushy look, so I tend to pick up a lot, and even when I do, it never looks overboard. I do quite enjoy this blush. Plus the packaging is really cute. It's like a baby pink packaging, but it has a magnetic closure too, which is nice. It makes it feel a lot more luxurious. So for highlighter, I picked between the Merit Day Glow and the Ami Colé highlighter that I just got during the Sephora sale. The Merit highlighter won, so I'm gonna go in with the Merit Day Glow in the shade Citrine, and I'm gonna take this on my finger and kind of just rub. This feels pretty similar to the melting blush from Rare Beauty because it does melt with the heat and the warmth of your finger, but it blends out really easily. And I really like this highlighter because it leaves such a pretty glow, but there's no visible glitter. It's really just like a healthy glow from within. Like, it looks like I just have really good skincare on and not necessarily a highlighter. Putting some on my eyelids as well, near my brow bone, and then putting some right there on the top of my lip. For powder, I chose between the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder and the e.l.f. Prime and Stay Powder, which is a pressed powder. The Halo Glow powder won, so I'm gonna go in with this. I have mine in the shade Medium. This is a really nice, like, loose powder. Don't let the name fool you. It's not that glowy. It just kind of leaves like a pretty sheen all over the face. So I'm gonna put some in the cap and then load it up on this brush. And I'm just gonna go everywhere with it. And it sets everything without making it feel super dry, and you can see how like radiant and glowy my skin looks. Plus it has a little closure for the sifter, which is always nice. The next item is powder bronzer. This is one of the closest like in votes that I had. So I had the Victoria Beckham bronzing brick and the M Cosmetics sculpting bronzer. Victoria Beckham won with 51% of the votes and M Cosmetics had 49. So we're gonna go in with my Victoria Beckham bronzing brick. This isn't something that I reach for very often, but the packaging is so beautiful. It's really heavy. It has this little latch that you push this button to open, like very purse-like, honestly, if that makes sense. You get two kind of different shades in here. There is this one which is like slightly cooler and this one which is slightly warmer. I have mine in the shade 3, Warm Sand and Soul. So we're gonna go in with this. I'm gonna take this on a really big fluffy brush and I'm gonna try and focus this on the more cool tone side. The warm tone side is just a tiny bit like too warm for my taste. It's slightly orange on me, so I try to either do like a mix or stick to one side when it comes to this bronzer. I do quite like this though. Besides the packaging, the powder is really finely milled, but also it's not super powdery in the pan, so it doesn't have a lot of kick up. So I find that, like, again, you can't really go overboard with it because it doesn't pick up a lot on the brush, and you can just, like, it blends out really, really easily. For blush, I had the options of the Cover FX Warm Honey Blush, the Duo, and my Essence, the blush. The Cover FX blush won. This was like one of my first blush loves. I think this was my first blush from Cover FX as well. It is so beautiful. Like, it has the matte side and the glowy side. I think I'm just going to go in with the matte side right now because I do feel quite glowy with all of the like balmy products and the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder. I am going to take this on a brush. I'm going to go in with this Sonia Kashuk. I'm going to go in with this Sonia Kashuk blush brush, and we're just going to go in the matte side. This one does have a little bit of kick up, and these are quite pigmented. So, you know, try to use a light hand with it. Try not to pick up a ton all at once. This blush is super pretty though. I just love the tone of this. It's very spring summery, and I feel like this is a really pretty blush if you want to go for those like sunburnt vibes as well, which is usually where I put my blush anyway, like the blush placement. And Cover FX did take a hiatus for a little bit, but I think they're starting to come back around now. I'm not entirely sure, but I think they're coming back around. So if you want to pick up these blushes, I think they're still available. They're kind of expensive. They're, I think, at around $40, but you do get the two blushes. You get the matte and the more like highlightery side, the blush topper side. So, I mean, I have so many blushes, I probably don't need to have this in my collection, but I do like it, and this was just one of my first blush loves, so I'm partial to it. I don't think I could ever get rid of this blush, to be honest. So the next choice was for eyeshadow. I had the Maybelline Nudes of New York's eyeshadow palette versus the Makeup Revolution and Soph eyeshadow palette. The Maybelline Nudes of New York palette won. This is the first palette I ever bought as well, but I don't reach for it a ton because the powders are very, very powdery. Like, there's a lot of kick up in it, and I just don't really reach for these like super warm tones anymore. The most used shade in here is probably Soloist, which is kind of just like a setting shade, and then this really dark brown, which I use for shadow wings. So I'm gonna go in with this. My plan is to do an all matte look today. I have honestly really been liking the all matte look lately. So I'm gonna take this Moda brush and just set my eyelid real quick with the shade Soloist. I'm going to take the shade Creator, this next little brown shade, tap off the excess. And then I'm going to go in with this darkest brown shade called Self Starter, and I am going to use this to do a little shadow wing. Since these are kind of powdery though, I feel like they don't last super, super well. Like, I find that they can fade with time. To be fair, I don't use an eyeshadow primer most of the time, so that could be part of it. Okay, that's it for the eyes. I am going to hop off camera and do my brows because I didn't give you guys any brow options to choose from. So I'm going to do my brows. I think for the sake of trying to use things I haven't used in a while, I'm going to use my Mirror Beauty Brow Powder Duo, and then I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Wow Brow. So while I was gone, I did my brows and I also curled my lashes. For mascara, I gave you guys the option of black mascara or a dark purple mascara. Black mascara won, so I'm gonna go in with the Ulta Beauty mascara. It is the New Heights Lifting Mascara, and I don't have my Essence Pimel, or the Pimel Essence mascara base with me, so I'm a little concerned that this is going to make my lids drop, but we're gonna try and go in really light with it. Even though this doesn't hold a curl very well, or at all really, I do really like this mascara. I really like the length and the separation it gives me. I mean, if you've been here for a while, you'll know that my lashes are very straight and most mascaras weigh them down. The only ones that don't are waterproof mascaras, but most waterproof mascaras smudge on me. It's a whole process. My lashes are a whole process. Most mascaras are going to fall on my lashes just because of the nature of my lashes. So even though I don't love like a lot of mascaras, I do like this one. I do really think that my lashes look very long and separated and like fluttery. You just can't really see them because they're so straight. And the last thing here is gloss. I gave you guys the option of the Tower 28 lip jelly in the shade Spicy or the new Merit Jelly Lip Oil in the shade Mapleton. You guys chose Spicy. I'm gonna go in with this Tower 28 gloss. I haven't pulled this out in a while, but I figured now is as good of a time as any because it's very springy, the sun's out, it's just good vibes all around. So I'm gonna put this on my lips. This is one of the more pigmented Tower 28 glosses, and it can be a little intense, so I usually wipe off the wand before applying. That is the gloss. I think the gloss kind of clashes with the blush a little bit. I feel like the blush looks a little bit too orange. So I am going to go in with my Cover FX blush duo in the shade Spiced Cinnamon, just to kind of make it match a little bit more, because this one's a little bit more red in undertone compared to the peachiness of the Warm Honey shade. Okay, that's a little too much blush, so I'm gonna just take my sponge and go over it just a little bit. Okay, so this is the final look. I went ahead and let my mascara completely dry and recurled my lashes and then combed them out. I like the blush and the lip together. I think the tones work really well. Obviously, I had to adjust it a little bit with the Cover FX Spiced Cinnamon instead of Warm Honey. Maybe I should have thought this through a little bit better when I was picking out the products. But I think this is really pretty. I think the eyes are a little bit too orange compared to the rest of the face. So I might go back in and maybe adjust that a little bit, or maybe just put like a shimmer on top to take away from that. I'm not sure yet. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to follow me over on Instagram and TikTok, you can do that at vivtvnguyen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys!